welcome to CrimeDivers. I'm Laura.
And I'm Jill.
Welcome back to today's episode.
Hello everybody, welcome back. Thanks for joining us again.
As always, it's always a pleasure to be here and record another episode with you.
Yes, but we have to tell you that this is our last episode of the year.
It is. This is our last one before Christmas.
Yeah, it was originally supposed to be sort of maybe next week, but then, like, as you know, I had COVID and it kind of put us back because I couldn't, there's no way was I capable of researching and writing an episode, so...
No.
So this is our last episode and we're just going to take sort of Christmas and New Year off.
Yep, and then we'll be back next year with a fresh season. With
Yeah,
some new
fresh
episodes.
year, fresh season.
Absolutely.
So... yeah.
We're going to finish off with a Lorisode.
Yeah, we are. So, she just took the words out of my mouth. Yes, today is a Lorisode. And where in the world are we?
We are in America.
And what is the... oh, I'm spinning round.
Back this way, please. We're not finished yet. Are you up on your holidays already?
I was sitting on the office chair and I've got my legs up and crossed and the chair just started moving round.
And I'm like, are you finished already? I need to tell you the episode first.
Oh, I had my back turned.
Thanks.
Anyway, so what's the name of your episode?
It's called To Simply Kill a Woman.
Oh, that doesn't sound good, does it?
Well, it's not really.
No, well, I didn't think it would be. So do you want to dive in?
Let's dive in. Catherine Susan Kitty Genovese. Now,
Wow.
I'm just going to say for now, we're going to call her Kitty, because that was obviously what everybody called her, but that's her full name.
That's a long name.
It is. But she was born on the 7th of July 1935. She was born in Brooklyn, New York City. She was the eldest of 5 children, and her parents were Italian Americans called Vincent and Rachel. Kitty was raised Catholic. Her and her family lived in a western Brooklyn neighbourhood populated mainly by families of Italian and Irish heritage. In her teenage years, Kitty attended an all-girl high school where she was described as being self-assured but beyond her years and having a sunny disposition. Her mother witnessed a murder, so the family actually moved to New Canaan in Connecticut. But Kitty had actually stayed behind in Brooklyn, living with her grandparents. She recently graduated from high school and she was preparing for her upcoming marriage. Mm. So later that year, Kitty got married, but it didn't last long as her marriage was annulled near the end of 1954. And apparently the reason was due to Kitty's sexuality as a lesbian.
All right.
So I didn't really find out anything about the marriage. That's why it's quite basic information. All I know is that she was
married to a man.
You married to a man.
Obviously it wasn't right because that wasn't who she wanted to be with.
Well, exactly. So
yeah.
The marriage was annulled and as I said, it was due to her sexuality.
Right.
But Kitty did, she still remained in Brooklyn and she moved into an apartment. She worked in clerical jobs, which she didn't really enjoy. And by the late 1950s, she had accepted a job as a bartender. In August 1961, she was briefly arrested for bookmaking, as she had been taking bets on horse races.
Oh, like the bookies. I was like, bookmaking? What's that mean?
That's what
bookies,
it,
right.
Yeah. So she'd been taking bets on horse races from customers in the bar.
Okay.
So I think that was illegal. She wasn't supposed to be doing that at that point. She and a friend Dee were fined $50 each, and she lost her job. Oh. So
okay, well, if she's doing illegal things.
Well, exactly. Not so good. I don't know whether you can get away with that now, taking bets in bars and stuff. I don't know.
I don't bet.
No, well, Justin does. He's quite lucky actually. He wins quite a lot.
Yeah, I know he does. I don't win anything. John won't even let me do a scratch card. When he buys scratch cards, I'm like, can I do one? He's like, no.
No, you're not lucky.
No, you don't win, so you're not getting one.
Fair enough. Okay, so Kitty, she got another bartending job at Ev's 11th Hour Bar on Jamaica Avenue and 193rd Street in Hollis, Queens. And she was actually soon managing the bar on behalf of its owner. So, she was doing right.
Yeah.
She did work a lot though, so she worked a lot of double shifts, and she was able to save money, which she intended to use to open an Italian restaurant, because that was basically
check her out.
Her dream was to obviously have her own restaurant and work for herself.
Did you say she was from Italian descent?
Yeah, Italian American. So obviously she must have had that in her blood and wanted to.
Oh, good for her.
Go in and do her own restaurant. So that's why she was working a lot, just to save up the money to do that. And at this point, she was also living with her girlfriend, Mary Ann Zolonko.
Okay.
Sorry.
That's a bit of a mouthful.
It was, wasn't it? So on the 13th of March 1964, Kitty had been working at the bar as usual. And it was around 2:30 in the morning. So Kitty had just, she just finished her shift for the, morning, early hours. So she, locked up and she got in her red Fiat car and she began the drive home, just like she did every single night. Or every time she worked, obviously. And while she was stopped at traffic lights, she was spotted by a man called Winston Moseley. He was sitting in his parked Chevrolet. So, the lights changed to green and Kitty just carried on her journey home as normal. She arrived home at around 3:15 and she parked her car in the Kew Garden, Long Island Railroad Station car park, which that was about 100 feet from her apartment.
Right.
So it was 100 feet up from her apartment door, which was in an alleyway at the rear of her building. So her door was
right.
She had to go up an alleyway to get to her actual door.
Dark alleyway.
Well, yes, not so good. So as she walked toward the apartment complex, Kitty was unaware that she had been followed home. By who, you may ask?
That guy.
Yep, you have probably guessed it. It was Winston Moseley.
Aye, him.
Yep. So basically, he had just been sitting in his car, waiting for an opportunity to arise, and along came Kitty in her red Fiat.
Oh, so he wasn't actually waiting for her. He was just waiting for an opportunity.
An opportunity for somebody.
It could have been anybody.
Could have been anybody.
Right.
It was just one of those in the wrong place at the wrong time moments for Kitty, sadly. So he had, saw the opportunity, so he had followed her home. So as Kitty neared her apartment, Moseley got out of his car, which he had parked at a corner bus stop on Austin Street, and he was armed with a hunting knife.
Oh no.
He approached Kitty. But Kitty must have clocked him as she started to run, so she must have seen him come with the knife. She started to run towards the front of the building, but Moseley ran after her. He actually overtook her, and then he stabbed her twice in the back, and Kitty screamed, quote, "Oh my God, he stabbed me, help me."
Oh.
Several neighbours heard her cry, but only a few of them recognised the sound as a cry for help, because again, neighbours hear a noise, you don't necessarily think anything of it.
Or just at that time in the morning, like they're probably sleeping and they probably just think it was just people, maybe drunk people mucking around. Exactly, you just don't know, do you?
Mm-hmm. But one guy who did recognise it was a cry for help, he was called Robert Moser, and he shouted at Moseley, quote, "Leave that girl alone." So Moseley ran off. He just, obviously got startled, got a fright, ran off. So Kitty, she slowly made her way towards the rear entrance of the building. She was seriously injured, and she actually ended up out of the way of any witnesses, so nobody sort of saw where she went.
Right.
She, so obviously I think she was trying to get to safety.
Yeah.
Witnesses did see Moseley enter his car and drive away, but in an unbelievable turn of events, Moseley actually returned 10 minutes later, which these witnesses said that they saw him return.
Why would you do that?
Exactly. He basically had shadowed his face with a wide-brimmed hat, so it was almost like he came back trying to not be recognised.
Try to disguise himself.
Yeah. And he basically started to search the car park, the train station and the apartment complex, and clearly he was hoping to find Kitty, so he was obviously coming back, thinking, I didn't get a chance to finish the job.
Yeah. He wanted to finish what he'd started.
Well, exactly. And as I said, to my total astonishment, he did actually find her.
Oh, no.
And when he found her, she was barely conscious. So she'd obviously only managed to crawl so far.
Yeah.
Barely conscious, and she was lying in a hallway at the back of the building where a locked door had actually prevented her from going inside. So possibly that's why maybe she didn't get any further. And she basically she was out out of the view of the street and of those who may have heard or seen any sign of the initial attack. So nobody knew where she was basically. So I don't know whether anybody actually went searching for her or looking for her, because obviously there was witnesses that had seen what happened.
You would think they would.
Mm-hmm. So I don't know whether they didn't know where to find her or whatever, but she was basically lying there.
Oh.
And sadly, it was Moseley who found her. So he basically stabbed her several more times.
Oh my God.
And then, to make matters worse, he raped her.
Oh God.
And he stole $49 from her, and then he ran away again. So he just basically clearly want to come back and finish the job.
That's awful.
So the attacks, from the first attack to the second attack happened around, it was like in a sort of half-hour period. And knife wounds in Kitty's hands suggested that she obviously had tried to, defend herself. And a neighbour and close friend of Kitty's, Sophia Farrar, I think that's pronounced, she actually did find Kitty shortly after the second attack, and she held her in her arms until an ambulance arrived. So thankfully she was found, but it's a shame that the neighbours didn't get her the first time, because they might have been able to...
Maybe not save her if they got her the first time.
Exactly. So records of the earliest calls to police are unclear though, because obviously bear in mind we're in the 1950s, so, it won't be like they are now where they're probably recorded and stuff. But they're unclear, and, the calls weren't given high priority either.
Right.
And the incident happened 4 years before New York City implemented the 911 emergency call system. So bear in mind, when they phone the police, it's obviously not been like 911 as we...
I was just thinking that. I was like, because when we did the... I think it was when we did the Sodder children... I'm sure I mentioned the fact that the 911 wasn't till like the 50s or something.
Yeah,
exactly.
So this was 4 years before that was in place as well. So I'm assuming like you would just phone the local police station, possibly. Is that what would have happened?
They used to have like an operator, didn't they? You'd like phone the operator and to ask them to put you through. So I think you'd probably phone them and they'd put you through at the local police station.
Maybe something like that. Yeah, but so sadly it hadn't been given high priority. So one witness said that his father called the police after the initial attack and reported that a woman was beat up but got up and was staggering around. So again, I don't know whether maybe these neighbours thought she was all right, or I don't know. It didn't seem like anybody really...
Nobody seems too bothered.
To go and kind of make sure she was all right.
If you see a woman staggering about, would you not go and see if she's all right?
Well, I don't know. I mean, again, it's one of those, like, unless you're in the moment, you're not going to know. But, I mean, because obviously...
She might have just looked pissed or something. People might have just thought, she's had a few too many.
Well, maybe, yeah. But, and a few... So she got up and staggered around. So a few minutes after the final attack, another witness, called Carl Ross, called friends for advice on what to do before calling the police. So again, I'm like...
It's all very strange.
It is. I mean, it is very strange. Because, I mean, to be fair, like, when I was thinking of, like, a title for the episode, one of the things was it was called, like, the bystander effect, because there was a lot of that. Like, there seemed to be a lot of witnesses, but nobody's doing anything about it until it was too late.
Yeah.
So it was, like, almost like the bystander effect, as we just talked about in a previous episode as well.
Yeah.
But again, unless you're in that situation, so, you can't judge these people because you don't know what was happening to cause them not to maybe intervene, or they didn't think it was as serious as it was. I don't know. So an ambulance that obviously arrived at 4:15, and started to take Kitty on, the route to hospital, but sadly she did pass away on the way to hospital, so she didn't make it. So she was buried on the 16th of March 1964 in Lakeview Cemetery in New Canaan, Connecticut, and she was 28 years old.
What a shame.
So, of course, a police investigation began, and they initially questioned Kitty's girlfriend, Mary Ann. They were questioning her at 7 a.m. on the morning after the murder, and then she was later interrogated for 6 hours by two homicide detectives, John Carroll and Jerry Burns, whose questioning centred on their relationship. And this was also the police's focus when they questioned some neighbours, and initially Mary Ann was actually a suspect on this.
And where was Mary Ann?
I think she was in the apartment, so she hadn't done anything.
So there were no witnesses or anything.
No, but I think they obviously...
But they always think it's the partner first.
Well, exactly. So, but then that's what baffles me as well, is because, I mean, we know there was witnesses, so if they knew it was a man, then why were they interrogating her? And I thought to myself, back in those days, were they interrogating her to do with, the fact that...
Were they being homophobic?
Yeah, homophobic. That's
Maybe.
what was my thoughts. Maybe they were just sort of... taking it out on her and trying to...
But, I mean, if nobody's seen her and they've seen a man...
Well, exactly. So I
that
don't know
doesn't
why
make
she was the centre of their investigation. Clearly to me...
Unless they might have thought that she set up.
Maybe. But anyway, they clearly were wasting their time.
Yeah, obviously it wasn't her.
As we know, they were wasting their time.
Yeah.
So on the 19th of March... in 1964, 6 days after the stabbing, Mosley was arrested for suspected robbery in Ozone Park after a TV was discovered in his boot. So obviously he was arrested.
Thief.
I know, what a thief. Imagine stealing a TV. So Mosley...
Because would they not be like really heavy back then?
Oh yeah, no. I mean, because they would have been like the early days of TVs. Because I mean, this was like the 1960s, and it was the
They were all
1950s.
big black and white things. They would have been really heavy.
Oh, would have been colour by then, because we're not colour TV by the 19... Because it was 1950s, we were colour TV, weren't they?
No point asking me about stuff like that.
But anyway, they would have been not like the TVs that we have in this day and age. They would have definitely been...
There wouldn't have been a smart TV that sits on your wall.
No, it would have been like a big chunky thing that had a big massive backs, probably. But anyway, so yeah, that had been discovered in his boot. His car was searched after a local man, Raoul, clearly became suspicious when he saw Mosley removing the TV from a neighbour's house. So Raoul questioned him, and Mosley claimed to be a removal man.
Oh, well, that's a good excuse. I'm Googling. When was colour TV introduced? Okay.
See, I was right, the 1950s.
1954.
Yeah, so we're in the 1960s, but it probably would have been a TV like that.
Well, that's what I was thinking of. They're like on a big stand thing in that.
Probably like that. So he claimed to be a removal man. But however, Raoul consulted with another neighbour, Jack Brown, who confirmed that the homeowners were not, in fact, moving.
Okay. Well,
so no, he's not going to be a removal man.
Obviously he's not a removal man then.
So Raoul called the police, of course,
Sorry.
and managed to disable Mosley's car so that he couldn't get away until the police arrived. So good on him.
Yeah.
For stopping him. So a detective, by chance, recalled that a white car similar to Mosley's had been reported to be at the scene of Kitty's murder.
Oh.
So during questioning, Mosley basically admitted the murder. Pretty much straight away. He didn't really get up a fight of it. He admitted the murder of Kitty, and he actually admitted to another 2 murders.
Oh, okay. I wasn't expecting that.
Yeah, he admitted to killing Annie Mae Johnson, who had been shot and burned to death in her apartment in South Ozone Park.
Wow.
A few weeks earlier. And 15-year-old Barbara Kralik, who had been killed in her parents' home in Springfield Gardens the previous July.
Oh.
So he claimed to have killed both these.
Right, I wasn't expecting that.
Mm-hmm. So who was Winston Mosley, you ask?
A serial killer, by the sounds of things.
Well, I'll tell you who he was. So he was born on the 2nd of March 1935 in Manhattan, New York City. Obviously, at the point of this murder, he was 29 years old. And he currently lived in Ozone Park, Queens, and he worked at a typewriter manufacturer called Remington Rand. And he was a tab operator preparing the punch cards used at the time mainly for data input for digital computers. And Mosley was actually married with 3 children, and he had no criminal record.
Oh, his poor wife and kids.
Mm-hmm.
Imagine finding out that you're married to a murderer.
Well, exactly. It's mental, really. It just seems like a normal man. He's got an alright job.
Previous.
Yeah, no previous. He's married, got 3 children. So, doesn't sound like the typical killer, does he?
So obviously that would come as a complete surprise to his wife.
Oh, definitely, yeah. So whilst in custody, Mosley gave details on the attack of Kitty. He said his motive for the attack was to simply kill a woman.
So that's all he wanted to do. He just wanted to kill somebody. He wanted to kill a woman, basically.
Yep. Basically saying that he preferred to kill women because they were easier and didn't fight back. So...
Oh!
Mm-hmm. I know. And that's
sexist.
That's what I thought when I read that. I thought that's the perfect title for this: to simply kill a woman.
That's fucking sexist. Mm-hmm. Women can fight back.
Oh, exactly. We definitely can fight back. He said that he got up that night around 2 a.m. while his wife was working nights as a registered nurse. Which again, I was like, so you left your kids? Because basically his wife was at work. Your kids must have been in the house, and you just decided to get up.
And you thought that this is the ideal time to go and murder a woman. I'll leave my kids in bed and I'll go and just find somebody to murder.
So he drove through Queens to find a victim. He simply saw Kitty on her way home and decided to follow her and kill her. So she's just the wrong place, wrong time. So Mosley was charged with Kitty's murder, but he wasn't actually charged for the other 2 murders that he admitted to.
Oh.
For the police, one of the factors was that another man, Alvin Mitchell, had also confessed to the murder of the 15-year-old Barbara Kralik.
Oh.
So, obviously, they just felt like there wasn't enough evidence, basically, to... Even though he'd confessed to it, there wasn't anything to sort of link him.
One of them's lying.
Well, yeah, exactly. But I don't know which one.
So they didn't find out which one actually did murder her? Well, was it not him then? Mostly.
Well, there's more on that. There is more on that.
Okay,
I was going to say, I'm sure I wrote more on it, so I'm not going to answer that just yet.
Okay, I'll shut up. You told me you wanted me to talk.
So, Mosley's trial began on 8th of June 1964. He initially pleaded not guilty, but his lawyer later changed his plea to not guilty by reason of insanity.
Huh?
Exactly. During his testimony, he described the events of the night of the murder along with the two other murders and numerous other burglaries and rapes that it had supposedly done. So the jury came to a decision after 7 hours of deliberation. Guilty. So Mosley was sentenced to death for the murder of Kitty.
Right.
And on the 23rd of June, Mosley appeared as a defence witness in the trial of Alvin Mitchell, who said that he murdered Barbara Kralik. But after being he agreed to appear after being granted immunity from prosecution. So basically, he testified that he had killed Barbara, he agreed to testify that he had killed Barbara, but he got immunity from that, so he wouldn't be charged for admitting to the fact that he killed Barbara.
Oh, but that's a bit rubbish for Barbara's family when,
exactly. So basically he's in a trial to get the other man off by saying that he killed Barbara, but he's getting immunity to not be prosecuted for the fact that he's just admitted that he's killed Barbara.
Yeah, so basically if that is the case and he did do it and the other guy didn't, her family isn't... The person who did kill...
was basically
their daughter, whoever, is getting off with it. Nobody's getting punished for her murder. Exactly. That's disgusting. Exactly. Like, that shouldn't be allowed to make deals like that.
But the jury could not come to a decision, so a second trial actually did happen, in which Alvin Mitchell was convicted of Barbara's murder.
So he was convicted
of her murder then. So, still don't know whether he did it or whether Mosley did it, but Alvin Mitchell was convicted.
Usually... It's hard enough to find one person to find guilty of murder, and they've got two people confessing.
Exactly. So it's like, well, why is the one who clearly didn't do it saying that they didn't do it? But unfortunately, we don't know 100%. All we know is that Alvin Mitchell was convicted of it.
Well, I mean, somebody's been convicted, so good for somebody's getting punished for it.
Yeah, and I suppose,
just hope it's the right person.
Yeah, exactly. But then I suppose Mosley did, he is getting convicted of Kitty's murder, so he is going to be in prison and stuff. But he was sentenced to death. But actually, this changes. So on the 1st of June 1967, the New York Court of Appeals found that Mosley should have been able to argue that he was medically insane at the sentencing hearing, when the trial court found that he had been legally sane. So, because obviously, bear in mind, he'd pleaded not guilty to reason by insanity, but basically wasn't given the opportunity to prove that he was insane.
All right, okay.
So basically the court is saying that he should have been given the chance to say that he was...
Surely it has to be proven either way, whether you're insane or not.
Exactly. So his death sentence was actually reduced to life in prison.
Right.
It didn't quite end there, because on the 18th of March 1968, Mosley escaped from prison while being transported back from hospital where he had undergone minor surgery for a self-inflicted injury. He fled to a vacant house where he stayed undetected for 3 days. On the 21st of March, the owners went to check on the house where they encountered Mosley, who held them hostage for more than an hour, binding and gagging the man, Matthew, while raping his wife.
Oh.
He then took the couple's car and fled.
Oh my God, what a monster.
He broke into another house and held a woman and her daughter hostage for 2 hours before releasing them unharmed. And then he eventually surrendered to the police shortly after that. And he was charged with escape and kidnapping, to which he pled guilty. And he was given 2 additional 15-year sentences to run concurrently with his life sentence. But Mosley was denied parole 18 times.
He just think he up, doesn't he? 18 times.
I know. His last attempt being in November 2015. But then he died in prison on the 28th of March 2016 at the age of 81. He had served 52 years, making him one of the longest serving inmates in the New York State prison system.
Oh.
So there you go.
I can't believe you're trying for parole. It's like, no, 18.
I don't know if funny, but you escaped from prison. You're not going to get... I mean, I do wonder if he hadn't died, would he have carried on?
Probably.
Trying to get parole again. But I mean, 81 years old, I mean, you know.
Well, he spent a fair... Well, he obviously deserved to be in prison,
Oh,
so...
100%, because especially after, you know, killing Kitty was absolutely awful. Whether he killed these other two women, we're not 100% sure, because we've only gone on what he said.
Yeah.
But the fact that his reason was just to simply kill women, I mean, that's just awful.
It is. It's just so bad. Like,
and sadly, that could have been
anybody
at any time.
Yeah.
It was just unfortunate that Kitty was the one that, let's say, in the wrong place at the wrong time, and you know, she's lost her life over a man just because he just wanted to kill her just for the sake of it. I mean,
yeah. Well, I don't know. He wouldn't be the first, would he?
Well, no, he wouldn't be the first, and I hate to say it, but probably not the last either.
What a monster.
Total monster.
Well, thank you to everybody for listening.
Yes, and we hope that, you know, this is our last episode before Christmas, so we do want to wish you
a Merry Christmas or Happy Holidays, however you spend this period.
And a Happy New Year as well.
Yes, and we will be back in the new year with the rest of season 6.
Yes, we will be.
So, in the meantime, though, you know, we're still around, so if you want to get in contact with us, suggest some cases or just have a blather, you know, whatever you want to do.
We're still here.
We're here, so we are on Instagram Twitter and Instagram, crime_divers_pod. Our email is crime_divers_pod@outlook.com. We're on TikTok and Twitter. No. TikTok and YouTube. Crime Divers Podcast. If you would like to buy us a coffee, it's buymeacoffee.com/crime-divers. If you'd like to join our Patreon and catch up with our bonus episodes on there, ad-free episodes, early access episodes, patreon.com/crime-divers. And Laura doesn't know this, but we've actually joined another social media platform.
Oh, have we?
Yeah.
Oh, when were you going to tell me this?
To tell you, I just remembered about it now. It's called Hive.
Hive?
I don't think I like it though.
Never heard of it.
Right. I only noticed it because people on Twitter were saying, oh, we've joined Hive, you know, here's our details. And I thought, well, if everybody's moving over to that, then we better get with the kids and move on over. So I made us up a profile, and it basically just looks like Instagram.
Okay.
But whenever I try and load it, it just takes ages to load. So I don't know if it's just still in the new stages or whatever. But if you do want to check us out on there, I have no idea what.
Or maybe give us any hints and tips of how to use it. It might be useful.
That's always a good idea, because you know I'm getting old now. I'm not so good on the technology, but I'm sure the username's probably just Crime Diver Podcast. I don't know.
We're the worst.
I set it up when I had COVID.
You sure it's a genuine website or anything?
I think so. I don't know. I could be
Anyway,
wrong.
forget that.
So Merry Christmas, Happy New Year.
And don't forget to subscribe, rate and review.
Thanks for listening. Bye.